Satanism comprises a number of related beliefs and social phenomena. They share the feature of symbolism, veneration or admiration of Satan, or similar figures. Generally, those Satanists who believe in the Judeo-Christian concept of Satan are linked into the belief system of today's Judeo-Christian religion, as they believe in the same theology presented in the Hebrew Bible. Satan, also called Lucifer in many Christian religions, first appeared in the Hebrew Bible and was an angel who challenged the religious faith of humans and the rule of Yahweh. In the book of Job he is called the Satan, meaning the accuser, and acted as the prosecutor in God's court. A character named Satan was described as the cosmic enemy of the Lord and tempter of Jesus within many of the Gospels of early Christians. It was further developed in scope and power as the bringer of Armageddon and Apocalypse, as featured within the book of Revelation. Religions inspired by these texts, Jews, Christians and Muslims, typically regarded Satan as an adversary or enemy, but extensive popular redactions and recompositions of biblical tales inserted its presence and influence into every aspect of adversarial role back to the creation and fall. By Christians and Muslims especially, the figure of Satan was treated variously as a rebellious or jealous competitor to human beings, to Jesus, or to the Lord, and characterized as a fallen angel or demon ruling the penitential underworld, chained in a deep pit, wandering the planet vying for souls or providing the impetus for all worldly travesty. At points during the development of the Christian religion, Satan became its outspoken enemy, and this served the interests of all those who would use this to their advantage, inclusive of those who fashioned or recomposed the mythos of Satanism. Additionally, particularly after the European Enlightenment, some works, such as Paradise Lost, were taken up by Romantics and described as presenting the biblical Satan as an allegory representing a crisis of faith, individualism, free will, wisdom and enlightenment. Those works actually featuring Satan as a heroic character are fewer in number but do exist, George Bernard Shaw and Mark Twain being two authors whose works include this prior to the pen being taken up by religious Satanists. Anti-witchcraft laws such as the British Witchcraft Act 1735, not repealed until 1951, reflected public sentiment against witchcraft and Satanism. Although religious Satanism began in 1966 with the founding of the Church of Satan, there was also a late 17th century French moral panic against alleged Satanism during the Poison Affair, 1675 to 1682, which occurred during the reign of Louis XIV and dealt with accusations of widespread poisonings, infanticide and forgery, presided over by an alleged satanic social network, which had no actual substance but reflected the aforementioned pre-Enlightenment popular religious anxieties. Modern Satanist groups, those that appeared after the 1960s, are widely diverse, but two major trends are theistic Satanism and atheistic Satanism. Theistic Satanists venerate Satan as a supernatural deity. In contrast, atheistic Satanists consider themselves atheists and regard Satan as merely symbolic of certain human traits. This categorization of Satanism, which could be categorized in other ways, for example traditional versus modern, is not necessarily adopted by Satanists themselves, who usually would not specify which type of Satanism they adhere to. Some Satanists believe in God in the sense of a prime mover but, like atheistic Satanists, still worship themselves, due to the deist belief that God plays no part in mortal lives. Despite heavy criticism from other religious groups, There are signs that Satanism has become more socially accepted. For instance, Satanism is now allowed in the Royal Navy of the British Armed Forces and Canadian Armed Forces despite much opposition from Christians, and, in 2005, the Supreme Court debated over protecting the religious rights of prison inmates, after a lawsuit challenging the issue was filed to them. Satanic activity has also been found to be on the rise in Poland, despite the country's long reputation as Europe's most devoutly Catholic country. In recent years, the first Satanic Church was refounded on October 31, 1999 by Carla Lovey to carry on the legacy of her father, Anton Lovey, author of the Satanic Bible. On Walpurgisnacht, April 30, 1966, Anton Lovey founded the Satanic Church, which he would later rename Church of Satan. After his death in 1997, the Church of Satan was taken over by a new administration and its headquarters was moved to New York. Lovey's daughter, the High Priestess Carla Lovey, felt this to be a disservice to her father's legacy. Ms. Lovey refounded the Satanic Church and continues to run it out of San Francisco, California, much in the same way as her father had run the organization when he was alive. The Order of Nine Angles, ONA, is a purported secretive Satanist organization mentioned in books that detail fascist Satanism. They were initially formed in the United Kingdom and rose to public note during the 1980s and 1990s. Presently, the ONA is organized around clandestine cells, which it calls traditional nations, and around what it calls sinister tribes. Historically, primarily in Christian European civilization over the centuries, but also in Muslim countries, for example, the Yazidis, some people or groups have been specifically described as worshipping Satan or the devil, or of being devoted to the work of Satan. The widespread preponderance of these groups in European cultures is in part connected with the importance and meaning of Satan within Christianity. When viewing the historical development of the phenomenon of Satanism, it becomes evident that, while the earlier Christian examples may reflect the goals of the Catholic Church to overcome pagans and heretics, or to dispose of opponents, as was the case with urbane grandeur, the later examples, at least from the time of De Sata onwards, clearly express an open hatred, to the point of sacrilege and blasphemy in some cases, towards Christianity, and the Roman Catholic Church in particular.